The Union are officially moving on to the knockout rounds in 2024 Leagues Cup. We'll go over the Union's PK loss to Cruz Azul on Sunday, as well as what the Union will need to do to beat CF Montreal on Friday and advance to the round of 16. All that and more as Union Insider starts now.
Takes the strike on, and it's off the inside of the post. Ariel, who scores off the header from the set piece.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross with Union legend Sebastian Letou and Sheanon Williams. I'm Dave Leno. Heading into Sunday night at Subaru Park, all the Union needed to do to win their group was at least make the game go to PKs, with a spot to the round of 32 already clinched with Charlotte's PK win over Cruz Azul. Winning the group, though, wouldn't be an easy task, as Cruz Azul is one of the best Liga MX sides. But when there's a will, there's a way. And here are the highlights from Sunday night in Chester. We fast forward to the 20th minute. Cruz Azul's Alexis Gutierrez gets a pass in the middle of the pitch, just outside the box, takes a couple of steps and fires a rocket that beats Andre Blake, but not the woodwork as it rings off the post to keep the game scoreless. 7 minutes later, a Union turnover leads to multiple golden chances for Cruz Azul inside the Union box. But the Union defense and Andre Blake make a goal line stand, and they deny the scoring opportunity for Cruz Azul. Somehow, some way. 32nd minute now, and the first chance for the Union. Ty Brebo sends it across for a streaking Mikel Ua, who gets ahead on it, but it misses the target. A great chance for the Union, but not to be. The first tally of this one came in the 41st minute. Some nifty open space passing by Cruz Azul leads to this Carlos Rotundi chance to the right of Blake, and he buries it past Blake to the left, gives Liga MX side the 1-0 lead just before half. Second half now, and a play that will be disputed by many Union fans. Ty Brebo bursts towards the penalty area after a beautiful Quinn Sullivan play, gets tripped up in the box, but no penalty is awarded, and the play goes on with Cruz Azul leading by a goal. I think they got that one wrong. But toward the dying embers of the game, the Union finally came through after a misplay by a Cruz Azul defender, Piovi. Sullivan crosses it in, pinballs off of Mier, who spills it. Gazdag flicks it into the top of the net to tie the game at 1, where it would end before heading to penalties. What a play, Danny! But it wasn't meant to be for the Union in the PK shootout. Gazdag, normally brilliant from the spot, gets stopped by Mier, and the Union would eventually fall 4-3 in PKs, but win their group and will advance to play CF Montreal on Friday. Guys, Herculean comeback for the Union in the 88th minute. Gazdag gets that tally. Different story in the first half. What did you make of the Union's performance?
I mean, it was a big game for them, especially playing Cruz Azul, like you say, who's the best team right now in their league. You know, they just started, but being first place, they have a lot of great players. They lost in PK against Charlotte, so they needed to do, you know, a big game to get the win to qualify or win in PK, which they did. But you can see that the stadium was 70%, you know, Cruz Azul fans, so it was a different atmosphere for the Union player. But it's kind of those type of game you like to play, you know, to make sure that you kind of get the best out of your team. And they played kind of the type of game we know the Union is about, you know, go counter-attack, letting the ball to the other team of Cruz Azul, but Cruz Azul was very good, you know, they score a goal, and then in the second half we got some, you know, chances as well, but at the end, you know, it's all mental, I feel like, for the Union. They really stay strong, they keep pushing, you know, to get this equalizer, and at the end, Gazdag, you know, with a great equalizer, with a pressing, you know, from the offense, getting one of the only mistakes of Cruz Azul defense, and gets, you know, the equalizer to get 1-1 and get the first place, which was, you know, the goal for the Union to be able to be first and play, you know, the next game at home against Montreal.
Sheanon, what did you make of the adjustments from Jim Curtin's team from half one, where Seba documented they were doing a ton of defending, and it led to some opportunities on the flip side in half number 2?
Yeah, we talked about it last week that they weren't going to have a lot of the ball, and I thought they did a good job soaking up pressure. I know Cruz Azul had a couple chances, one they hit off the post, they eventually scored, but I thought they did a good job at keeping the game close. I think about the save that Andre Blake makes in the second half to keep it at 1-0, and that's what allows them to get back into this game. I think that they had a good game plan going into it, knowing that they weren't going to dominate the ball. They soaked up pressure and looked to counterattack and find little moments. Ua had a chance to score that he missed off the header. So I thought that they did a good job of keeping the game close, understanding what they needed to try and get first place. And I think that was their goal going into this first group stage, is to take first place and see how many home games they can get to roll on.
You both make excellent points. I think if Ua scores in the 32nd minute with his header on that cross from Baribo, I think the temperament of the game totally changes. Of course, Cruz Azul was going to have more of the ball in the scout in this one. Secondly, also, when Charlie Rodriguez has that chance and Blake makes that terrific stop, it keeps it a 1-0 game at that point. So you're spot on saying Andre Blake continues to be Goliath in the back. Defensively, Sebastian, the Union had to get a lot of numbers behind the ball. Rotundi on the left was really key, Sanchez on the right. Where do you think things still need to be cleaned up defensively? I know the Montreal game will be a little bit different than Cruz Azul, but moving forward, how can we continue to solidify a good performance at home?
I mean, I think in the defense it was very good from the defense, knowing that they play, with kind of 5 midfielder. You say Rotundi on the left side, who scores the first goal, really pushed forward. So it was a lot of 3v2 on both sides of the field. And at the end, I think the little mistake the team was doing, it's when we are winning the ball, we kind of lost it a little bit too quickly in the middle part of the field. Sometime on the first goal we gave up. Not the first goal, sorry, the big opportunity where we got some pressing high, from Cruz Azul. We didn't have as much movement, and we tried to play too much time, short balls, short passes, when we just sometimes need to clear the ball, put it in the back of the defense of Cruz Azul, let's push the line and let's, get the next wave of Cruz Azul offense coming. But we are trying to play at my taste, a little bit too much out of the back when Cruz Azul, putting a lot of number forward to press you. And they won some of the ball who could have been more costly for the Union. Luckily, Andre Blake, we are very good against Cruz Azul and save, the team to keep a game at 1-0. But we need to be a bit better to recognize, especially from the center backs, and then, from the midfielder, when to call the ball, playing short, or when, to kind of put the ball more higher up the field and support, the striker to get some opportunity on the side of Cruz Azul.
Speaking of that goal for the Union, Daniel Gazdag and his play are getting the spotlight for this week's Key Play of the Week, presented by Subaru. Sheanon is at the video monitor to go over Gazdag's 88th minute equalizer. Sheanon.
Our Key Play of the Week is going to be Danny Gazdag's goal in the 88th minute. We'll start it here with the pressure from Adeniran, who does such a good job to contest the first one, also the second one from the goalkeeper, and he continues his run. And that forces the mistake there. Quinn Sullivan does a really good job taking his time, letting players filter into the box. Gets a little bit fortunate, but it's a really good finish by Daniel Gazdag, who has the wherewithal to not only finish it, but take the touch that gives him that little bit of space and then roof it into the top of the goal against Quinn Sullivan, doing a really good job just to put it in a dangerous area. And this is something that Daniel Gazdag's done so well this year, is fill the box. He does such a good job in the run of play now, where something that we criticized him for before, he's finding really good spots in the box, and it ends up equalizing this game in the 88th minute, a huge goal for the Union to take first place. Again, the touch here, and then just the wherewithal just to put it up and around the goalkeeper. It's a really good finish from Daniel Gazdag in the 88th minute.
Sheanon, well done. That's like a Sebastian finding space right behind Romo there and roofing it.
Always staying to keep with the play, I like that about Gazdag.
Both of you guys, well done. All right, we've got more Union Insider for you in just a bit. But first, here's our Union Trivia question presented by United Concordia. What Liga MX team do the Union have the most wins against? Find out the answer later in the show. Welcome back to Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross with Sebastian Latou and Sheanon Williams. I'm Dave Leno. Last week on the show, we talked about the Union's newest signing, Sam Adeniran. That was true until Tuesday, when the club announced the homegrown signing of Academy product CJ Alney. While Alney has signed a few short-term contracts with the Union this season and even appeared in a game, it's still a dream come true for the Chicago native. For more on Alney, here's Sage Hurley on this week's Union Roundup, presented by Green Mountain Energy.
What's up, Union fans? I'm Sage Hurley here at the club's campus in Chester for another edition of Union Roundup. 2024 has been a big year for Philadelphia Union homegrowns. Kevin Sullivan made league history as the youngest player to ever debut for a North American major pro team. Andrew Rick stepped up big while Andre Blake was out with an injury. Nate Harriel and Jack McGlynn lifted Team USA to the quarterfinals of the Paris Olympics. And David Vazquez just earned top scorer and best 11 honors in the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship Tournament. Those are just a few highlights from the team's current homegrown contingent, and on Tuesday, the team welcomed another signing to that talented group. 17-year-old midfielder CJ Olney officially put pen to paper, becoming the team's 25th homegrown. He's yet another product of the club's world-renowned pathway to the pros. He came through the Philadelphia Union Academy, then signed with Union 2, and now he's officially earned a first-team deal with the club. So far this year, most of his minutes have been with the MLS Next Pro side, Union 2, and he's been key to their success this season. Olney is one of the league's leaders in assists, helping Union 2 become the second highest scoring team in the entire league so far this season. Let's take a look at this clip of CJ. He serves it up to Eddie Davis on a plate. This is just an example of his prolific passing and what he could bring to the table as a first-teamer in the future. The best is yet to come for this budding talent, but for now, that's all I have for this edition of Union Roundup. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sage. Let's bring it back to Leagues Cup and take a look at how the knockout stage is shaping up for the Union in this week's bracket breakdown presented by Subaru. The Union were winners of East Group 4. They'll now be matched up with the second place team in East 2, which is CF Montreal. The Union hosts Montreal on Friday, and if they win, they would face FC Cincinnati, who defeated New York City FC on Monday. Now, of course, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, especially facing a Montreal team the Union have struggled a bit with this season, but it's always fun to look at the potential road ahead. All right, guys, so the Union know their round of 32 matchup against Montreal, a team that they lost 4-2 back on June 29th up in Montreal, and then it was a 2-2 draw in Chester on June 1st, trying to get some revenge against the Canadian side.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the same type of game we're going to see that we saw against Charlotte. It's kind of a game in Montreal, especially like we saw kind of two type of half from the Union, a very good first one, a terrible second one, and then, getting the loss 4-2 over there. 2-2 at home, one of the first game of the season as well against Montreal. So they need to kind of redeem themselves a little bit, play at their full level for the entire 90 minutes. And I think if they do that part, for the Union like they did against Charlotte, I think they should get the win against Montreal and get to the next round. But you never know. But I think, the way the team have been playing in the past months, I think it's really more, the face of the Union we have been seeing, in the past couple of the season.
How do you think, Sheanon, the Union fare against Montreal? Right now, they're tied in points in the MLS regular season with 27. They're 6-10-9. They lost to Orlando 4-1. They beat St. Louis 3-2 in the group stage.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good matchup for the Union. I know that they've struggled a little bit this year with Montreal, but they're in better form right now. I think that the way that they've been performing leads me to think that they can take all the points and move on in this Leagues Cup. I think that this Montreal team will come sit low. They like to play in that back three. They just got trounced by Orlando 4-1, so hopefully that trend will continue. This Union team is really starting to put things together now as they head into this Leagues Cup.
And different from the prior matchup against Montreal, back on June 1st, I mentioned at home it was Oliver Zembla. In the game that we called in Montreal at Stade Saputo, it was Andrew Rick. Now the Union have Andre Blake back there. Maybe Nate Harriel coming back for the Olympics and Jack McGlynn make a start or coming off the bench. How does that factor in on Friday?
I think it's great from Jim Curtin. He can really now have his almost full squad that he was complaining about, for a long time at the beginning of season. But now he can make, the best choice for the starting 11 against Montreal, playing at home, not traveling again. I think it's very big for the Union to start, this Leagues Cup. They don't have to travel. They can just be at home, prepare the game, and make sure, we put the best starting 11, on the field. And if it doesn't work, he has a lot of guys now on the bench he can bring in, make sure we can make a difference. Like we saw, against Cruz Azul when he put Aden Moreno as a forward, he just gave a different, type of look to the team, and it really helped, to get the goal at the end to come the 1-1. So against Montreal, I think the same. Let's see who is going to choose, to be the starting 11 for that game. But at the end, I think we all have almost everybody healthy now to be able to do a good performance and be hungry to go to the round of 16.
We're coming up on a break for Union Insider, but when we return, we'll break down what the Union need to do to beat CF Montreal in our keys to the game. We'll be back right after this. Time for this week's Chick-fil-A Nugget of the Week. The Union signed midfielder C.J. Alney to a homegrown contract this week. He becomes the 25th player to sign a homegrown contract in club history. Welcome back to Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross with Sebastian Latou and Sheanon Williams. I'm Dave Leno. It's now time for the Union to face CF Montreal on Friday, and because of that, in this round of 32 matchup, we'll hand it over to the guys' keys to the game, as always presented by Subaru. Seba, you're up first.
So I'm going to go with the fact that I would like to see the pressure, stay connected from the team, especially from the front three. As soon as we do a good job, and it doesn't matter to always be, the first 50 minutes, we always see, Jim Curtin asking the team to do a high pressure, the first 15 minutes, but can they always stay, connected when they decide to push forward, to push number forward, like we saw against Cruz Azul at the 88th minute? It doesn't matter if it's just the beginning of the game, but when we do a good job, having everybody, being on time, at the right time to keep the pressure on the center backs or on the defense of Montreal, it's where we can really, win the ball high up the field and go quickly to score goals. So I would like to see that again, from the Union. They have been much better, in the past couple of games doing this thing, and it really helped them to get some easier goals than building, out of the back.
And I think they'll have an easier job high pressing, different from the Cruz Azul game in the opening 15, 20 minutes. Sheanon, what's your key?
My key to the game is going to be to be good on restarts. If you remember that last game against CF Montreal that ended 4-2 in favor of Montreal, the Union gave up 3 goals off of restarts. They also were able to score on a restart from Jesus Bueno. I think if they can clean up the defensive restarts and continue to be successful on their own restarts, I think they can score a point that way or score a goal that way.
In MLS regular season, Montreal is a pedestrian 2-7-4, led by Laurent Courtois in his first year managing CF Montreal. In the games that you've analyzed Courtois' team, what have you noticed from his side?
I mean, it's the first year for Laurent Courtois. I love your accent.
Thank you.
It's
I tried.
Nice. The French,
Give
coach.
me lessons after the show.
Coming from Columbus, but he's still new, to the league. He still, need to figure out what is, his best player, his best shapes. The player need to kind of get familiar with his style of play. He got, a good beginning of the season. Then they went, through kind of a deep run, not really winning for a long time. And then when they won against the Union, they kind of get back to get some win at home, losing away. But it's still, I think, finding for him, what is the style of play you want to put with the player he has under Montreal. But he's doing, a good job, I think, for me for the first season with Montreal. But he's going to keep growing, with his style of play. So we need to be careful because you can see the style of play, especially with Juan on the right. They are pushing forward, kind of a bit like Cruz Azul was doing against the Union. And they have a lot of young player. It's a team who, are maybe less experienced, but they can really surprise you the way they play and the energy they can bring into the game. So it's something that you need to be careful because Laurent Courtois doesn't really care who is playing. He just wants, players who are really into his system and want, to push forward, offensively.
It was a busy weekend for Leagues Cup, so let's take a look at some other big moments in this week's Around the League, presented by Torque. In a battle of two historically great teams, LA Galaxy and Chivas played in an absolute thriller on Saturday. After a 2-2 draw in regulation, the Galaxy would prevail 5-4 in PKs as they win the group while eliminating Chivas from Leagues Cup. And in another match between two terrific teams, Tigres took on Inter Miami, and it was tied at 1 late until the 84th minute when Tigres' Juan Vigon scores this goal to put Liga MX side ahead 2-1, and they'll go on to win the match and the group. When Union Insider returns, Seba and Sheanon will give us their players to watch for Friday's match as the Union hosts CF Montreal in the round of 32. We'll be back right after this break. Here's the answer to this week's Union Trivia question presented by United Concordia. The Union have 2 wins against Querétaro, which is their most against any Liga MX side in their history. Both of those wins came in last year's Leagues Cup. Final segment here on Union Insider with Sebastian Latou and Sheanon Williams. I'm Dave Leno, putting a wrap on this week's episode. And now, guys, we need some All-State players to watch. Seba, lead us off.
I'm going to go with our number 28, Ty Baribo. I think, he didn't score against Cruz Azul, but he has been on fire, since he has been a starter for this team, scoring so many goals it's a game he didn't score, so I feel he kind of like score, didn't score. So I think it's a game he's going to score and help the team, get the win against Montreal. So I'm looking forward to see, his movement in the box, which has been, very good. His pressing, as I talk about, in one of my keys, being one of the key for the team to get the win against Montreal. But, all his work rate have been pretty impressive, since he joined the team, and I'm looking forward to see him hopefully scoring 1 or 2 goals against Montreal.
It would be nice. Sheanon, who's your player?
My player to watch this week is going to be Kai Wagner. With the stakes being higher, it being a knockout game, usually the margins get a little bit finer, and I think that the Union can get something off a restart, whether that be a corner or a free kick outside the box. Kai's delivery this year has been really good and on point. We've scored numerous goals off of his service, so hopefully that can be the way to break at the deadlock.
And the Union won several second and third balls off of set pieces from Kai. Can that happen again? We'll see tomorrow night. That will do it for this one. The Union are home to take on Montreal in the round of 32 of League's Cup. The match can be seen on MLS Season Pass. Of course, you can listen to Seba and I with the broadcast on 97.5 The Fanatic. It's a big one on Friday. Be loud, everybody. For Sebastian Latou and Sheanon Williams, I'm Dave Leno. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.